Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat, where we like to gather together as writers to share writing and talk about writing by writers and for writers. And we want to have some fun today. So we're really glad you're with us, or if you're watching the replay or you're in the chat, we're glad that you're here with us. So my name's Jean Wise. I'm one of the co-hosts, and I'm gathered today by a bunch of my good friends and co-hosts, Johnny Alexander and Norma Poor, and Bethany Jatt, who's going to introduce our special guest today. So Bethany, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey everybody, I hope you're doing good during the quarantine. I've got my whole family here with me today, which is great. And I'm excited to introduce Jane because my mom and I saw her for the first time at a Blue Ridge conference when she was keynoting. And I can't remember the last time we had laughed so hard. Aww. And it was just wonderful. And then we had the honor of having Jane be a keynote speaker at the North Carolina Christian Writers Conference a couple years ago. And it was just amazing. And as you've seen, even just from her being on a little for the pre-show, she's wonderful. She makes you feel like you've known her forever and you just want to hang out with her all day. So a little bit about Jane. She's quite impressive, and she's an international best-selling and award-winning author and professional singer. She's recently been inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame, which is just incredible. And she also has a history with beauty pageants, Miss America, and she was showing us some of her trophies before. And she just has such a heart for God and heart for people. And so I'm just so thrilled and honored, Jane, that you took the time to be with us today. And welcome. And we're excited to learn more about how to put humor into our writing. And then we'll be putting some book links into the chat and then in our Facebook group so you guys can get some of her books because they're just fantastic. So, Jane, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Bethany. Aren't you, darling? Look at you, your little black headband.
We gotta hide the
roots. It's like a crown.
She's put rhinestones on it.
There you go. Well, thank y'all. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, Bethany and Jill and I were on Zoom yesterday, and Bethany had dog bows in her ear.
How cute.
They were adorable. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just had to share that.
No worries. Well, thank y'all for having me. This is a time where in my wheelhouse, and everybody has a wheelhouse, we have to pull down what our gifts are and kind of get quiet before the Lord and say, what can I do? What can I do? And so that's what my thing has been. I don't know if I said this earlier, but I've just been shooting really fun little videos, and I call it a beauty queen in quarantine. And it's just something that I could think up, which, a lot of people have been very appreciative about using humor, because we do have to have, as the Bible says, we need to have a merry heart during this time. And this is something like we've never seen, but yet I'm telling you, it gives each one of us an opportunity to push ourselves creatively. So my question is, how many of you all have found yourself being really super creative? And we all are creative people. So it's just a matter of, like, I saw a guy in Italy walking his dog with a drone. Oh, wow. That was pretty funny, so you're seeing just so many different venues out of your wheelhouse where you can be a blessing to other people. So that's what I'm encouraging. We're doing remote church, and I'm a singer. So our minister said, can you do something? So I went and pulled up the old Sandy Patty. They could not. And so I love that song. But so I recorded it yesterday in my house with men putting in tile. I blocked off the back of the house. We had a bad leak. We have to get it fixed. And I would be singing, they could not. And I heard, bam, 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 They're like somebody was nailing, I don't want to go there, but, it was crazy. Like kind of in line with this Holy Week we're in. But anyway, so I'm just thankful that God has given me the ability, and I'm sure you are thankful God has given you your creative talents. But we can't get down, y'all. We can't get down. Because, you know, I told Thomas and another speaker friend of mine, I said, you know what the difference is between now and about 6 weeks ago? People are listening.
Mhm.
The world is not quite as noisy. Everybody's kind of hyper focused, and people are listening. They're listening and reading your stuff, and they're trying to find encouragement. I mean, y'all, why is Tiger King so big?
Well, it's because we're stuck. You can't turn your
Because
face away.
it's so crazy that people would rather see crazy and think, well, we're crazy, but not that crazy. So it's a great opportunity because we're going to be heard more now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, actually, so speaking of creativity, Michelle Medlock Adams shared this. They're doing a Bible study with her and her sister, and she shared this morning that her daughter Allie, who is a fashion designer, she went to fashion school. She's being creative and helping people create masks out of like the different kinds of fabrics that she had, and she was just gonna do them for free. She just posted it, you know, and just said, if you need this, I can make them. And then she had like 120 orders within just a couple hours. She's like, I don't know how I'm gonna make all these. So I wasn't expecting it. And she was just donating her time. But some people were working in nursing homes and needed it. So she was doing that. Michelle watched the baby, but the people wanted to donate to her for her time. And so Michelle said, like, she woke up this morning and has $700 or $800 in that account. She's just going to put it right back into doing more of this kind of stuff, and just how God's using the different talents that we have. And she knew how to sew, and she's like, this is what I can do. And so, like, it's interesting how we can relate that to us. Like, what are we good at? And then how can we put that out there right now too? Because people are listening, people need it. It was amazing. What an amazing testimony.
Well, I think that's awesome. Our church secretary is doing the same thing. But another thing, like y'all know Eddie. Eddie's just been a gold mine of info, Eddie Jones. And so I've asked Eddie, I mean, I want to give away my book, and I've got it in a PDF. It's the one that my self-published book. And so we uploaded it on BookFunnel, and I'm looking at my downloads on BookFunnel, and I'm just giving it away. And I'm trying to think of, and so then I got in touch with Bob Hofstadler and said, you know, I want to give me some ACX codes. So I sent out probably 20 emails saying, if you want if you use Audible, here's an ACX code. And then I don't want to overwhelm people, but I'm attaching the song to the folks that I know would love it, you know, when I've spoken in churches and stuff. So I'm just trying to, I don't think this is a time, as in the speaking world, everybody's scrubbed. I mean, there ain't nothing going on. But what we're all doing is we'd be nuts to try to sell. That's crazy. So what can we do? What can we give? Well, yeah, I can do that. So that's kind of my thing is, and can I give humor? Can you give inspiration? Can you give motivation? What else am I doing? Oh, I found this really old album. It's a CD. And I uploaded it, and I created a whole new web page with Elementor, which is an awesome program, I might add, if you can work it. So my guy just switched me over. So I created this web page, and I'll put it up one of these days. I'll have to find out what I did with it. I got to get on a different speaker view. But I'm giving away some of this motivational music and funny videos, and I'm going to embed it in newsletters. How many of y'all have got people on your newsletter? Oh, what a gold mine that is these days. And so, yeah, I'll show you what I did just to, if I can find it. So I'm rambling on. Y'all please ask me some stuff.
Jane, what inspired you to go the comic route?
You know, it sort of found me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find that link right now. So I started out as moving to this little tiny town of 64 positive cases. That's how I say towns now. And so it's so small here, y'all. It's just super small. And so what I did was, my cousin said, you know, you need to try to start motivating some of these kids. And I thought, yeah, how do you herd cats? If somebody can ever figure that one out. But I started doing these little programs, and they were pretty serious because my brother has a drug problem. And so I went ahead, and from there, I would sing and talk about drugs and whatnot. And then people would say, oh, in churches when I'd sing, oh, I love that song, but what you said was really funny. So one thing led to another, and that's kind of how it evolved. So here's that link anyway. So people kind of told me, y'all know what I'm saying, right? People kind of tell you, and then all of a sudden, it's like the begats in the Bible, so to speak. But then all of a sudden it was, do you have that written down? And I thought, well, see, in the speaking world, you just needed a book, something that you know, oh, Jane's an author. So then I had a friend out, this was way before I even thought about going through a publisher. And they said, this is a really good book. And you sent it to Oprah. I said, hush your mouth. Oprah's not gonna want this book. So it just kind of, and then I had other people say, this is really funny. So then, you know, that led to another. And I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I can get a book deal. So I did. That precious Les Stobie got me hooked up with Hachette, which has been amazing, hard. I don't know if I ever want to do it again, to be honest, because I spent a lot of my time promoting the book. They give you all this, you know, all this money, which it was a lot to me. And then they say, yay, promote. How? Whatever. You know, so I'm kind of filler for them. I'm like stuffing in the My Pillow. I'm just filler. And so that was kind of hard. So I spent a lot of time doing that. So anyway, it evolved. And listen to people, you know, listen and remember that they're saying that was funny or that was inspirational. I said, what? You think that's what? So listen to what people are telling you. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I paid attention to what other people were seeing in me that I couldn't see. And the only way is to be brave. You got to be brave. I mean, you know, y'all, when you submit a manuscript, you're going, oh, I feel like I've just opened my underwear drawer and said, you want to look? Look at all my drawers. Look at them. And that's kind of how I've done with my books. Here's my underwear. Y'all want to see my lingerie drawer? And you feel like that. You're just putting yourself out there. But that's the only way you're going to find out who you are, is to be brave.
I just saw a question in the chat. Are there good times or right times in your speaking sessions to be funny? Is there a specific place, or read your audience a certain way to know that it's kind of a time to be funny?
You have to be super respectful of people during this time. And that's the fine line. I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of women and this brilliant doctor from India, and she started talking about vitamins, and the whole time I'm just going to ask Jesus to forgive me. I'm just going to pick out a casket, because I mean, I just can't keep up these vitamins and what color bottle you need, and I just shut down. So this was funny because I'm work Zoom. I've had Zoom for about a year. So I, at the same time, am on the CPAE, the Speaker Hall of Fame leadership team, and I was putting together an Excel spreadsheet, and I was listening to this brilliant woman. And I put up a question. I said, when we all need a sense of humor, but respectfully so during this time, can you address that? Because I knew she wouldn't, because she's too smart. You know what I'm saying? She's too smart. And so then I just took it, you know, I was just doing my Excel spreadsheet and all this stuff. And they never answered my question. Oh my gosh, I went back to the chat. I had pasted every name on the Excel spreadsheet, like David Yoho, Jeannie Robertson, you know, all these things. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I went back to Google and went, how do you delete a chat? Boom, you can't, unless they got a trash can up there, you can't. So then I felt like total stupid pond scum. So then I got in touch with Karen, who is like fabulous. And I said, hello, fabulous Karen. I feel so stupid. I guess y'all wondering why I've got all these rogue names under my, you know, under my chat. She said, oh, listen to this. Oh, we thought it was so funny. We want you to be the lead person on our international call next week. I went, you are kidding me. But honey, I took it. I just flat out took it. I said, oh, I just love to. So anyway, I do think that if you can make fun of yourself, that's funny. If you can put a picture of yourself, like somebody sent me, I made another video of it, coloring my hair. Okay, let me just tell you, They had crayons, like the old perm, old crayons. And so I loved it. So I embedded that in a YouTube video about, you know, I call it health and beauty tips from an old queen. And so I had all the crayons and whatnot. And so then my hairdresser called me. And I got the skunk show, you know what I'm saying? It's coming out. And I got a big skunk these days. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
so anyway, he said, be here. I got to close up at 5. And I did. I wore all my gear. I mean, I had a hazmat suit on, just about, raincoat, the whole deal. So at 10 minutes to 5, the cop walks in. I said, buddy, you got to have backup to get me out of this chair, so you better leave. I can't believe I said that. But you see, those are the kinds of things that everybody can relate to right now, because we're all wondering, how are we going to do our hair? How are we going to do our nails?
Awful.
I know. So I have a video of me painting my nails over a pair of gloves in the last video I did.
There you go, Bethany.
I know.
So that's, but you know, you really have to walk the fine line of respect. You know, so I think if you can make fun of you and what your life is like, and you just, you know, be funny and be humorous, be inclusive, you know, just anything, going to the grocery store, you know, how you pick things out, just funny things like that. That's kind of how my brain works in a very weird, sick way, but it works that way. You know, and you know, a friend of mine said this to me one time, and I love this. He said, you know, tragedy plus time equals comedy. Well, we know that quote, okay? He said, there is no disrespect meant to what's going on. But if you can chuckle, have levity, laugh, it's God's way of saying it's going to be okay.
I love that. Yeah.
It's going to be okay. It's an inner jog. It's like Henry Beecher said, it's like springs on a wagon internally, jogging your brain, releasing endorphins, by the way, which are healing components. Yeah. That's where they got the word morphine from, endorphins. It helps us see things. When I wake up in the morning, you know, my verse is from Timothy, that God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. And Timothy was timid. So that's my first thought. Then Thomas and I go downstairs and we watch, and then, you know, I love Joyce Meyer, so we watch Joyce. And then we're bold enough to cut on the news and see what's going on. But don't saturate yourself too much. I have a great Christian friend that lives down the road. Y'all know Penny. I love Penny. But Penny just got terribly out of sync. She's got a pre-existing condition. And she just lost her beauty. And finally, I said, Penny, would you please go to the grocery store and buy something? So she went into IGA and bought a carton of eggs and was a different person.
She just needed to get out, huh?
Anything, you know, within the boundaries of all of us being homebound and whatnot. So Penny was a different person. And I said, girl, if you don't get out that house, you're going to go crazy. And she was just mad because I was going to the church and singing a solo and they were putting it on YouTube and she thought that was wrong. And that's not like Penny. Penny's an awesome person. So I said, Penny, read books, set up your Zoom, read books to kids. And she's got like 1,000 followers that go on with her. Y'all know Penny. She and I dragged her to the writers conference at one time. Penny's awesome, but Penny lost her sense of humor.
Jane, what would be the funniest story or funniest thing that you've shared?
Since the virus, since all this stuff been going on?
Anytime.
Well, some of it, I really thought Les Dobie was going to send me to Oral Roberts' prayer tower and sit me in the hands to heal me from my terrible sense of humor. But so right now, I'll tell you, let me think. There's so many. Okay, well, I love accents. I'll tell you this one. My mother loved this story, so I'll tell you this. Thomas and I were going skiing. Gosh, will we ever get to do that again? It seems like we did. Oh my God, we went skiing, you know. So we stopped in St. Louis, and that's when they actually had seats on the plane. And this obnoxious Yankee got on there. Oh my gosh, New York. Excuse me, pardon me, where's my seat? Oh, it's right here. And I thought, no, I got to sit by this woman. And she just jams everything in the overhead. She's so obnoxious. I'm going, all right, and Thomas is just staring out the window. She said, look at us, we're twins. We got the same clothes. We have the same outfit. The same outfit. So she sits down finally, plops. I didn't say a word. And the first thing she did is look at me and say, am I going bald? Look at my hair. Am I going bald? And I just shook my head. She said, I went scuba diving in the Cayman Islands. It was fabulous. I tell you, you know, the squid, what they do is they give you the squid to feed the stingray. And stingray have no teeth. They suck. Did you know that they suck? I didn't want suck marks all up my arm. So with the squid, this man put squid in my hair, and the stingray just sucked my hair, just like sucking my, you sure I'm not bald? And I thought, I cannot believe this woman. I just shook my head. I didn't say a word. Then she said, am I swollen? Look at my face. Am I swollen? I thought, where are we going here? Because she was going this way. She said, I've been crying for days. Vinny, 8 years of my life, broke my heart, broke up with me, went to Myrtle Beach. I'm from South Carolina. Picked up a little piece of white trash, broke my heart, shaved his head, went crazy, just dumped me. I'm so angry. The next girl I meet from South Carolina, you see this? I'm going to give her this right in the face. Where you from? I said, Nebraska. But here's the thing. We are the best of friends. And I took my daughter to see Beauty and the Beast on one of her birthdays, and we stayed with Nancy. And she is just one of my dearest, dearest friends. And so this is what humorists do, and this is how I like to write. So here's a story. What's the point? What's the point? The point is to embrace diversity and get to know people that might be different from you. It could be a massive blessing. When I fly, everybody has a story. So you want to say, what's your story? That's really kind of what you're saying. What's your story? So I just encourage everybody to find, I love stories, you know, and like Eddie, I'm writing a new book called Sweet Tea Secrets from the Deep Fried South.
No,
And the subtitle is, isn't that a cute title? The subtitle is Cutting Through the Cultural Kudzu. And I already got the, you know, and I got to send it to Hachette. I hope they reject it. Because Bob keeps saying, Jane, this is just all about the South. You need to broaden it. I said, no. This is just going to be funny and over the top, hilarious stuff. I'm a Charlestonian. I've got stories. The snooty patooties. You know, I've got the stories. How Caroline wore a bow in her hair, and she said, Mama, when do I quit wearing a bow? I said, when you start your period. Because you can't put a bow and a tampon or a pad in your pocketbook at the same time. Something's got to go. But you keep wearing that bow. I mean, our bows, y'all know Southern people and their bows.
Like cheerleading bows on the crack.
We put bows on everything. So that's, you know, I mean, I know my wheelhouse. So when something happens and I think it's funny, I will remember it. And that's not the funniest story. You know, I've got some pretty funny ones. But so you just have to look at something and see and massage it. Like I told a friend of mine, I'm going to take that story, and by the time I get through with it, you're not going to know it. You just not going to know it. So that's kind of how, I mean, my good friend Patrick Henry is a fabulous speaker. He has had to quit the speaking. Well, the speaking quit us, you know, and he's selling pools, and he's getting the best stories. He has gone into the bowels of North Carolina, no offense, because he got a call to sell a pool, and he called me and he said, well, there were 7 rednecks, 9 dogs. No, he said 7 rednecks and 9 dogs, and between all of them, they had 3 teeth. And he was in his teeth. And we were laughing, you know, because we're just trying to find anything to laugh at, you know. And so he said, they weren't going to buy a pool for me, Jane. I go, what you doing here? We can't buy no pool. He said, well, why did you call me? Well, we was just wanting one. And Patrick said, well, I got to tell you by law, you can't dive off the diving board. You can't do on the deep end, on the shallow end. You got to do this, you got to do that. And he said, Jane, I had nothing to lose. So I looked at the grandmother who had a real tight t-shirt on and was right large. And he said, and you, I know your type, no back flips naked. I know you. And she grinned so big, and they bought a pool. But could you, he made them laugh.
Mm-hmm.
That's too funny.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we're just struggling to find something. He sent me a video of himself playing tennis with himself, social distancing, and he's trash talking himself. He runs around that and just trash talks himself. Like, so it's just, you just got, if you don't got a funny friend, get one. Find one. Somebody that makes you laugh.
Yes.
That's great advice.
Yes. One of my favorite stories that you shared, I get your newsletter, and it was, I think back in the summer, and you shared something about paint the color of pink panties or something.
Yeah.
Can you
Oh,
share
that
that
was
story?
funny. This guy was mixing paint, and this woman came into the paint store and said, I want a pink bedroom or something. And the man said, well, what color pink? She said, well, I got some panties. I want to match to this panties. And so she gave him her underwear. And then she came back in. It was a great big store. And she said, you still got my drawers? And he was like mortified. That was a good story. I remember that vaguely. I have to go back. I remember that story. But that's funny.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, pink panty power. Anything like that, if you can play off of it, is funny. Like, I'm starting to put together my newsletter today, and I took my rhinestone book. Here it is. And I'm going to give away a couple of copies of this in my newsletter. But I started thinking every biblical woman in here is struggling with what we're dealing with. And to me, I talked about deceived Eve as the first one. And I'm thinking, you know what? Eve didn't realize how blessed she was until she had nothing. She was in the wilderness instead of paradise. And I'm thinking, you know what? We're all looking at little things in a different way. How many of us love to see a roll of toilet paper?
Yeah.
I mean, little things mean a lot. And then I talked about domestic diva Martha, who, she got Jesus to yell at her sister Mary because she wasn't doing stuff. And how many of us would love to have company right now? We can't do that.
Yeah.
So, so then you think of every single one, and Naomi was so whiny and sickening until she quit thinking about herself. And then it's like God opened the floodgates when she quit being a little whiny thing of, oh, call me bitter. So there's a lesson in every single one of these women. And it's very relevant to what we're dealing with right now. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we just had I had a little bit of static, but you're
okay.
fine. You're good. You're good. Jane, I don't know exactly how to word this question, but you are such a confident person, and I'm just wondering what tips you can give us for just becoming that confident person as we speak, as we write, as we, have to put ourselves out there to market. And I know you've had this wonderful background with pageants too, and I'm sure that really helped develop that. But could you just talk about building personal confidence, both as a speaker and as a writer?
I think that the key is to be a risk taker.
Yeah.
And just to have courage.
That's hard for us introverts.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie, but when I was with LPC with my third book, he was just like, what, Jane? He told me one time, he said, you suck all the oxygen out of the room. And I said, yeah, I know. It's hard for me to harness myself, but I get so excited because I feel like God has blessed all of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I can't die wondering if I gave it all. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be sitting around one day going, well, I could have done that. And people can be mean. I mean, I've got this guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but it rhymes with, I'm kidding, I'm not going to do that. But so I want to be on Sirius XM. And so I started listening to the comedy, and I said, I can do this. So I got all the gear, got all the stuff, chopped it up, sent it to him. He was going to get 25%. He emails me back and says, you're not funny at all. So I called him a wordy dird, and I did. And I sent it anyway. And that was 8 years ago. And they give me a royalty check every month, and it is a nice check. Wow. And I'm very thankful to have it. I didn't listen to him. I did not listen to him. And every time I see him, I go, hello. He said, I should have listened twice. I said, I'm so glad you didn't. And we have a little standing joke about it. I mean, he's a good friend, but he missed it. He missed it. But he missed it, and I got 25% more, So it takes courage. And it takes to know that God, I mean, you know, I run into these pageant friends of mine. I say, you still singing? No. What? God gave you this voice and you're not singing? What an insult to him. Gosh, come on, y'all, sing. And I mean, I've been shot down, burned, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? No means next. Just think of something else.
Very
No
good
is a
advice.
good word.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time or my time. And I've said that to people. I was calling a client. I cold call. That'll get you brave. And I said, are you sick of me calling? She said, I am. She said, I said, listen, I appreciate that more than anything. You have a good day. She said, you too, click. You know, I'm thinking, I can take it. I'm tough. If you reject it enough, you're good. Rejection is good. There's this guy, y'all, you got to look at this thing. He was our speaker at our national conference. His name is Jiajiang. And I hope I'm spelling, let me see, Jiajiang. Look him up. Look up this guy. I think that's right. He does 100 days of rejection because he was so freaked out of rejection. And it happened when he was in school that he created 100 days of rejection for himself. He would go to Starbucks and say, can I be your greeter? How crazy is that? And then he would go to, he'd go to ring a doorbell and ask somebody if he could borrow $100. And then and then he started, he is crazy. He is just 100 days of rejection.
Yeah.
Jay, has anybody found him yet? He's on, he did a TED Talk. Watch him. You will laugh your head off. And because he's not a good speaker, that's what's so good about him. He's just so, you know, like an old shoe. So he's so funny though. But he learned how to be rejected. And then, but here's the brilliance of it. He had a plan. He rang a doorbell. He was loving getting rejected. It was making him tough. And he had a little plant and he said, can I plant this in your yard? And the guy said, no. And he looked at him and he said, why? He'd never asked why. He said, my yard is torn out. They're putting in a sprinkler system, but my friend across here would love to have a plant.
Cool.
So why don't we ask why?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
you
he
gotta
got to do.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think when I just heard something when he was saying that sometimes people said yes. Like he would come up with something really crazy to get the no. And then they would say, okay.
Well, and then the donut rings. Did you see the story about that? That's his last story. He went to Krispy Kreme and said, I would like the donuts to be made into the Olympic rings with all the colors. And she strategized with him, and he put that on his final video for us to see. And what a rock star she was. And she came out 20 minutes later with a box of donuts and lifted the lid, and it was the color, the Olympic rings.
That's cool.
Wow.
But you know what? You just can't. You got to learn to be comfortable with rejection. And I guess in my business, from the pageant world, oh my gosh, I've been rejected and, you know, persecuted, ridiculed, jealous girls, ugly judges, and I just got used to it. I just said, you know, whatever, throw it off. So I think that's what makes, and I know the Lord has a place for me, and that just fuels it. You just add that to the richness of God. This is, and I would say, God, I want this. If it's not supposed to happen, please let me know. And you know my heart. I'm just hearing myself say it. So, you know, here we are. So, I mean, I have speaker friends that would sit in a empty lot behind their house in a lounge chair. And one of the women said, his wife said, what are you doing? He said, this is a pool. It's not a pool. You're crazy. He said, no, it's going to be. Without vision, the people perish.
That's right.
So he has a pool now. So.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm done. Go ahead.
I saw in the chat, somebody asked, how do you overcome the rejection from those that are closest to you? Those seem to sting more than other rejections.
Oh, they do. But like I sang the song I recorded, I did Via Della Rosa, which I have no idea what it sounds like. I'm speaking in tongues once I get to the language, whatever that is. And so Thomas is probably my husband, is my greatest critic, and he'll just tell me. But I It is hard, but those are the people that care about you the most too. I mean, there's some people that just are mean.
Yeah.
They're just mean. And I hate to say it, I had a sister who was very mean, and she died right after my mother died. And I know what took her life. She was so filled with envy and anger. She never controlled it. And my good friend Penny, she called me and said something bad's going to happen. And my sister died unexpectedly at 57. And that's when the Lord just put more fuel in me. So you got to tell women to get rid of their issues. Do it with humor. Anger, bitterness, jealousy is awful. Jealousy has no bounds. It is cruel. And I've learned through the pageant world, if I'm jealous of somebody, my favorite thing is to get to know them. Because they, you know, I've gotten it. If I'm jealous of a writer, I try to get to know them because they've got a gift. And Zig Ziglar said, you can help everybody get what they want in life as long, you know, you can have everything you want in life as long as you help enough people get what they want, even if you want and they want what you want. You see? Don't stop. God is going to bless you. It will come from another source, but that giving heart, that is the most loving thing. And that's why I love Blue Ridge so much, because I was so wounded. My mother had died. My sister had died. My sister could not stand me. I couldn't reach her. God released me. I know exactly where I was. I was not going to be the one. My brother's a drug addict. I'm friends with him, but I can't get close. You might love somebody, and I believe my brother has Jesus, but Jesus doesn't have my brother. I've been to therapy over it. I was very close to my family. I got rejected. They tried to ban me from her funeral, but honey, all of that went into this. And it's a healthy way. It's about dark pearls, seed pearls. It's all, my mother said, bury me with my pearls. But that, talk about the blessing, did well. And I told Les, I said, let's get us a big fish. I love Eddie at LPC, but let's get us a bigger fish. And that led to this. So you see, God had a plan much bigger. He told me, he said, buckle up, get ready. It's going to happen. I'm going to set you free. And I just released me from toxic people. I do not like toxic people. I don't hang around them. I'm not going to lead them to Jesus unless Jesus just shakes me into it. I'll just be me. I mean, I've learned just because you got Jesus in your heart doesn't mean people are going to get Jesus in their hearts. They'll beat up your Jesus. And you know what? And I read something one time. It's the smartest thing I ever read. And it was Foolproof Your Life by Jan Sibelius. And she said, sometimes turning the other cheek can get you in more trouble because they can't wait to slap the other side. And so I learned right then to get myself out of distance to be slapped. Now, I believe in turning the other cheek, but I know there are a lot of people that want to strike that cheek on the other side too. And you better be careful.
That's so true. And I think too, like with people who are closest with you being the meanest, sometimes they don't know what they're talking about. So if it's like, particularly with your writing, I think you got to listen to people who are in the industry, people who are also writers, and what are they saying to you, and is it matching up? Because sometimes people closest to us, usually they're the meanest because they don't want us to get hurt, so they're trying to protect us.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, when I go and, like, if I'm redoing my website, my speaking website, I don't go to pick up the person that's got the best deal. I'll call my good friend Jason Hewlett, who's hilarious, and or Patrick, my friend Patrick. I'll look at Jeannie and say, Jeannie Robertson, who did your site? They understand it. They understand speakers. So you got to stay in your camp with your people to understand how to make it work. Y'all write this guy's name down, Mark Hunter. He has just had the most successful book release, and he hired a woman. I don't know her name. I can find her, but Mark's with HarperCollins, and he had to invest in his own launch. It was some of the most brilliant, and I'm on his launch team, and buddy, I'm paying attention to this woman, and it's probably the smartest launch person I've ever seen. And I paid, you know, I mean, in Mark's book, you can look at it on Amazon right now, Mark Hunter. And he's
Is it high profit prospecting?
No, it is, the sales, let me see, a mind for sales. A mind for sales. And it's very good. And let me also give a shout out to my friend Guy Seabrook. God just put us together. I hadn't seen Guy in so long. He just released a book on Amazon, y'all. It's called In the Nam. It's his experience in Vietnam. I'm not a war book person, but that guy has got a gift. I'm just telling you. But Amazon's not letting anyone review the book, and we cannot figure it out. I have sent stuff to Amazon, but In the Nam, Guy Seabrook, and he's writing a love story. I'm just going to tell you right now, I wouldn't dare tell him this. If my husband heard me say this, he'd come in here and wash my mouth out with soap. He told me a love story. And after he finished, honest to goodness, I wanted a martini. I'm just telling you. It's the coolest love story. It's a 20-year lost love. And he is writing it. I said, God, get it out, because people would love to escape right now. Write that love story. And anyway, but be praying for Guy. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's got cancer. He's had a heart attack, PTSD. When I was 14 years old, I had the biggest crush on him. He doesn't know that. But anyway, he is, and the Lord has just plucked him out of abuse, and he is a fabulous person. But it's a great book, y'all, an amazing writer. And we need to be helping writers. And like, I bought Mark Hunter's book. I bought my friend Stephen Shapiro's book. I buy so many of my friends' books because I just want to help them. I know how hard this is. One review can keep getting you closer to that magic number that Amazon keeps you up there. So it's hard.
It is. It's a very difficult profession to be in.
Yeah. I call it my crack cocaine habit. And thank God I had income from speaking so I could fund my crack cocaine writing habit.
Amen. Because it costs so much to do the launch. I mean, here's the thing. We were talking about these books. It was like, with advances sometimes getting smaller, all of a sudden, like, I'm upside down in this. I'm not making money from this. I'm actually paying to have this book. Privilege.
But I tell you, if you believe in it, the sky's the limit, you know. But I'll have to find, let me go on there right now if y'all will let me. Let me find who Mark is using for his book launch.
We all want to know.
Yeah.
Girl's name is Alicia, and I don't think she's that expensive, to be honest. See if I can't find her name, because I love Mark. Mark is an awesome guy. Let me see.
Following him on Instagram.
While you're looking, Rhonda put in the chat, I keep telling myself it's the message that matters, not the income. But the income would be nice.
Yes.
Gotta have some money.
You gotta have money. I'm not spending as much money these days. So.
No, I'm cutting way back. Y'all would die. This is so terrible. You know how you get lost in all of your files and all that? I remember it. I put it this way. I've got a Word document, and I put book hoe. So I always know where I'm a book hoe. Isn't that terrible?
I love it.
But I can always find it. I'll tell you that. Okay, this woman's name is Anna LeBron, and he paid her between $15,000 and $2,000. And let me see if he did, I can get it, but we can always, so she's a book launch person, and I will share this because I certainly am going to get Anna LeBron.
Can you spell LeBron for us so we make
there,
sure?
it's like LeBaron or LeBaron. Yeah, and in fact, I can send Mark a quick email. He answers me pretty quickly about Anna's contact info. I'll type it real fast right now.
I don't know if we've had any questions in the chat. Have you guys been checking to see while Jane's sending the email?
Okay, I just sent it out. Yeah, I you know, everybody always says, how do you become a good writer? Well, I don't know. But, You just write.
You're right.
You have the courage just to put your brain on paper.
Yeah.
So somebody looked up Anna LeBron. Yeah, okay. I mean, she's done an incredible job with Mark.
I think her website is booklaunchcoach.com. If this is the same person,
yeah.
She did
I love
hat
what
makers.
she did. I mean, I wish. Let me see if I can. I mean, one of Mark's book, because it hit right during the coronavirus. She put a mask on it and sent him that graphic. I mean, it's just clever. I mean, I would never think of doing that. But just little things like that, just to get people's attention. Like, oh yeah, she does. I know I signed up to that Net Gallery, and just to be able to read and post a review. And but I'm telling you, his book launch team. Let me find it. But you have to. I mean, it's like, hey y'all, you want to be on my launch team? It wasn't like that. This is it. Don't sign up unless you're going to be serious about this.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, you know, instead of everybody saying, hey, we'll just have so much fun. It's work. And so Mark was very, you know, and he had goals set, 15 reviews. And someone looking at his, how his book is trending now, it was doing really well. But see if I can't pull it up real fast. Well, let me go to his launch page, A Mind for Sales. I'll show you what you might have to join it to look at it. I don't know how that works, but I was impressed with it. A Mind for Sales launch team. So here it are. So this is what this Anna did. So I don't know if y'all can pull it up, but I'll put the link to see, unless you join it, then you'll have to do stuff. But anyway, I thought it was, you know, unless I'm missing something and y'all can chime in, any advice.
I think my only question, moving away from the launch team for a second, because I love all that stuff, is do you find when you're writing that with speaking and writing, do you find that you have to do the humor in a different way? Or is there like a craftsmanship when it comes to the writing of the humor? Because things look so different in black and white than they do for hearing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true, because I'm very fortunate in that I can test it on an audience. And if I get a big laugh, I'll go, I got to write that. I got to remember that story. And I have to write it differently. And my good friend Larry Winget, y'all, he gamed Amazon so good before Amazon got smart. He had all of us buy his book, Staggered. He had a science. He borrowed money. Then he got his own show on AME. But he wrote a review, and it said Jane has a unique, and I'm not going, yay, look at me. But he said Jane has the unique ability to write funny. And I never thought of myself as being able to write funny, because it's hard when you're presenting. And that's why, like, Christian humor is so subjective. Humor is subjective anyway. But Christian humor, I mean, that's like an oxymoron. Are you serious? But I've got some tremendously funny stories. A good friend of mine, David White, told me the funniest story about singing at a Benny Hinn event. And the guy that was in charge of Benny Hinn said, now y'all, Benny is just, the Holy Spirit's just all over him, and he will wave his hand and you will be under the Holy Spirit. You will fall to the floor being, you know, by the power of the Holy Spirit. So that got stuck in their heads. And these are good Christian guys. They're wonderful people. And he said that they were all staring at Benny Hinn's hand. And he did something like this, and they all just hit the floor at the same time. And they're all piled up in this little wad. And David says, one of them says, all right, who's going to get up first? Well, I don't know. They were just so in the flesh, you know. I'm not trying to take anything away from Benny Hinn, but they made idiots of themselves thinking that they were supposed to go down on the floor, and the music stopped and everything. So that's a funny story, but I just got to figure out a way to write it, of course, and ask David if I could tell that story. But there's so many funny stories out there. And Thomas said I was going to get in trouble with our church organist because I told everybody nobody can understand what she's playing because she plays in tongues, unknown tongues. Woman can't play. But we love her to death. But see, I got to be careful. And like at our church circle meetings, the only one I missed, they had a big fight. I just hate that I missed that one. But I know it'd be in a book or a story and everybody'd be mad at me. Some of my friends look at me and go, don't you even write about that. I'm serious. Do not write about that. My best friend Dixie won't let me call her Dixie, so I call her Trixie. And then she got mad at me for that. And she said, I sound like a prostitute. I said, well, you won't let me use Dixie. So we just have funny things that happen. And I write it and write it and write it. And then I send it to people that have your humor eyes. Mm-hmm. I've sent stuff to Eddie and it's come back and I've but fallen on the floor. It's been so funny. And just because he and I have the same kind of humor eyes. So you need a buddy who sees what you see and can help you. Just see, some words are funnier than other words. Right. You know, like 9. 9 is a funny word. 5 is a funny word. 2 ain't funny. 1 is nothing. 3 is pretty good. But some words are funnier than others.
We have a question in the chat. Do you have a certain process for setting up the humor in your writing? I mean, I know it can't always be formulaic. Sorry, it just scrolled up on me. But are there some basic techniques you try to incorporate when you're writing?
I always try to paint the picture first. Like I always try to set up, you know, where I'm going with this and just make it kind of in your face. Wish I could find something funny. See if I got a story in here. Oh, okay. I'm just randomly. Okay, so that might be a little long. See if I got a short one. Oh, I can't read that one. Y'all, I thought okay, let me just start out. This is the starter. I thought these Hachette people, but really, we're going to send me to therapy. So here's how the book starts out. This is one of my favorite stories. I did not want to hear this, period. Daddy just tied the minks, our little boat, at the dock on Abapula Creek. Let me put on some glasses so I won't screw up. My heart was filled with a combination of summer memories and sadness as Mama and Daddy told us to wave goodbye to my favorite beach, Bird Key. Fall was in the air in the low country. Change was coming. Back at home, I sat on my bed fighting the tears. The summer fun at Bird Key Beach was over. My thoughts were interrupted with Jan. See, that's how my mother would talk because she spoke Gullah. Jan, I need to talk with you. Mama's voice had a tone of urgency. I sat at the yellow table and watched the hands on our clock. When is my mother going to be finished with this important talk, I wondered. My 12-year-old, you know where I'm going. My 12-year-old mind heard words like once a month, body changing. Finally, Mama said, do you understand? Yes, I lied. Okay, do you have any questions? Yes. When does Daddy do this? The crease in my mother's eyebrows deepened, a sure sign I had stretched her patience to the limit. She said, Daddy doesn't do this, he shaves. Can you believe my mother said that? He shaves. But women shave too. What do you call this thing? It's your period, Mama replied. Now that I've experienced this event and all the highly charged emotions that go along with it, I think the name period needs to be changed to exclamation point. Girls should be told once a month you will experience your exclamation point, which sounds much more appropriate to me. After that conversation with Mama, I told my best friend all the details. Well, how do you protect your clothes? She said. Before I share my brilliant answer, let me remind you that there was only one feminine protection product on the market back then, Kotex. I said, Mama says you have to wear a Q-tip. And I should have put in there, oh, I'm glad it's not too big. So that's how I started that book. And then I segued into women. Our bodies and our minds and our lives are one huge wheel of change.
Yeah.
So I went on and set that up about change. And then I started with like the young woman, Eve, messed up. That's 1 decade of our lives. We're tempted to look around and think everybody else has it perfect, and we don't. So that's deception. Then the Martha and Mary, as a Southern woman, Thomas's birthday party, I worked so hard. We have a big porch and it was all rotted out. And I finally, 2 days before his birthday, said, I'm giving you a surprise party. You need to paint the porch. He didn't know it. And he fell asleep during his party. And he told me the best part about his party was when it was over. So that was domestic diva Martha. I worked so hard to make it perfect. I was miserable, and Thomas was too. We were exhausted. But we do that. We overdo. Then I talk about salty Mrs. Lot, who didn't want to leave the country she loved, and people knew her. So, she looked back. But we always have to look forward. And I talked about my widowed friends. They've had to look forward. So I use all these iconic women, and Esther was brave. Oh, we need to be more like Esther. She was at a spa for 1.5 years. I can do that.
I love it. I think it's about time we bring everybody back on. Oh yeah, past time.
I'm sorry.
No. You just had us in trance. I didn't realize the time at all. Everybody, please come back on. And next week, I think we're going to be talking about. I should have looked it up. We're going to have an open mic, I believe, about just what you're doing to focus on your writing during this time when there may be more people in your house than you're used to having during the day, or things are just kind of crazy. I finished up my novel manuscript that I've been working on Monday morning at 3:30 in the morning, and slept till noon yesterday. But it was really hard. I was about 3 weeks behind my deadline for it. It was a self-imposed deadline, fortunately, because it's just been so hard to focus and to stay in my chair, and the story itself was not helping. It was kind of hard to write, and so this can be just a really difficult time, even for me, and life's not really changed that much. I'm used to being home all the time. But anyway, I think that's what we're going to talk about next week. Open mic, so just be prepared to be on camera and to share, what you're doing. So anybody have any questions for Jane? Anything you want to say while we still have her?
Hey, can I put up my YouTube channel?
Absolutely, you may. Absolutely.
I want y'all to see those crazy videos I've been working on, because it's been a lot of fun. And that's, as a writer, you maybe can step outside of your wheelhouse, and these are not tough videos to make, because I don't want them to be fancy. But let me go to my channel and just copy it and look at some of those crazy videos that I've been working on. Maybe it'll give you an idea of maybe something you can do that would entertain your audience, in between. That might be too much of a link, but that is Jenkins Herlong. I do a lot of these crazy videos because it's just, short and sweet and not spiffy, not professional.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good time just to test out some things, especially if you're, not used to being at home and you're looking for things to do. There's only so much TV you can watch, right? We got puzzles, and you know what? They were hard to find. My son went to Walmart, and there were only 4 puzzles. They were all Pokemon puzzles. And he got one. It's a 2,000-piece thing, and it's now we can't eat at the table because it's covering the whole table, and we're slowly working on it, putting this puzzle together.
Well, I tell you, it's been a real interesting time. Things that, I cleaned out my cabinet of medicines that I was almost afraid to get rid of them because I don't want to have to go to the pharmacy, but it's expired. Threw away a bunch of stuff. But it's just a good time. But I tell you, like you said, you went to bed at 3.
Mhm.
that our whole world is a little bit tilted, a lot tilted.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, we have to, I get up in the middle of the night and, you know, I say, I got an idea, and I'll write something down. So it's important for us to take advantage of, you know, God wakes me up sometimes and just puts little thoughts in me. And sometimes it's that place in between asleep and awake. A
Yes.
lot of times when he could
Yes.
get in there and start telling you things. And you know, we have a home in Charleston. It's my parents' farm, and I have this sweet little girl who's getting married May 3rd. Well, she was. I mean, at 1:11, I jumped out of bed and said, that child can't get married. And I couldn't get in touch with her, and I was freaking out. And she's called me. She said, Miss Jane, anything wrong? Well, yeah. Have you not been keeping up with stuff? She just, woo. And I mean, God bless her. But, you know, I said, we just got to reschedule this, Erica. I want this to be perfect for you. And so, but, you know, I don't think I would have, and my brain was relaxed enough to God to say, get up, you know.
That's actually one of my favorite times, that morning time when you're just kind of not awake, and you know, lots of times I'll take the dogs out and then go back to bed just to have that time. And it's amazing the story ideas and the plot things that work themselves out, and you know, just kind of praying and thinking and all that. Well, this has been great. I am going to close the recordings, and please stay for the after party. Again, next week, it's Writing Through the Hard Times. Thank you, Melissa, for putting that up there. And it will be open mic. So we will see you all then. And we're so glad that you joined us today. And Jane, thank you so much for being our guest. It's been great having you.
I was very honored. I'm glad I looked at the clock the second time.
Yeah, we're glad you did too. So
Yeah, I've never gotten ready all my life so fast.
It's been so good.
It's been great. So thanks, everybody.
Enjoyed it.
If you're watching the replay, we invite you to join us any Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. Also, feel free to join our Facebook group or like our Facebook page. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.